Welcome to Academy Live. Today's guest is the host of MSP Chat, Erick Simpson. His podcast is a look at the strategies, services, and success tips IT providers need to make it big in managed services. Uh, to hear a little bit about that, as well as talk about helping MSPs run profitable businesses. So let's bring out Rex and Erick. Greetings. Hey, welcome, Erick. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thanks for having me on. Great catching up with you as well, Rex. Awesome to be here.
Good to have you. Erick, one of the things that we do on the show is we have a thing we call the humble brag. So we'd like to kind of have you take a few minutes and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hmm. Well, sure. I grew up in the enterprise. I got tired of enterprise politics at some point and decided I wanted to go out and try something myself. So in '97, I started an IT company with a business partner of mine. We were a break fix shop for a bunch of years, projects and things like that. And then we had the bright idea to bundle and price what we called flat rate IT services, which, of course, today we know as managed services. We made all the mistakes you could possibly make in that first year, figured it out, got some success early on and then sold it in 2007 and kind of in tandem with launching MSP University, where we decided to take everything that we'd learned on building a profitable MSP practice and then share it with, tens of thousands of IT providers over the next 10 years. We had, first conferences that were just education focused only. We wanted to really deliver value to our attendees. We grew pretty rapidly to about probably close to 40 employees at one point. I wrote 4 books for MSPs, a bunch of white papers, assets, tools. Today, I work with MSPs, coaching, consulting with them through an organization called MSP Mastered. And then we also have Channel Mastered, where we deliver services to channel vendors and distributors. And then I'm also the co host of the MSP Chat podcast with my co-host Rich Freeman. So we have a lot of fun doing what we're doing. I'm happy to continue to work with entrepreneurs and MSPs and vendors. The rising tide lifts all boats, as they say.
You
Yeah, here's a little fun fact. I've been following you since the MSP University days, and I remember you were kind of one of the people that set the bar as being a go-giver and just sharing with the community, knowing that if we could all get a little bit better, it further legitimizes the business that we're in and makes it all easier and better for us to be in this managed services business. And I remember when I was leaving Northwest Computer Support around 2009, I actually interviewed with you, and I remember you gave me like a sales assessment test, and I think it was the first time I took a disc also. I remember doing pretty well on that sales assessment test. I remember that surprising me a little bit because I didn't really see myself as a salesperson. But you wanted me to travel a lot. You were kind of done with the travel thing and wanted me to do some of that travel on your behalf, and I just wasn't quite ready to do that yet with 9 or 10 year old, and ended up going to work with Jameson West instead. Where I didn't have to travel nearly as much, but it was this close. It was this close. I was so impressed with what you guys were doing over there.
Well, and the rest is history, right? We kind of we've collaborated together ever since. We deliver the go giver kind of mantra. I appreciate you calling that out. I mean, I think that, when we were doing our boot camps at MSP University, we were the first organization that actually, when we printed out the attendees badges, we had everybody take a disc assessment, the behavioral assessment for those that aren't familiar, right? It's like a Myers-Briggs or whatever. It's just very, very easy to interpret. We were all certified. I'm still certified in disc behavioral assessments and motivators and things like that. But we would print their 2 primary behaviors on their badges and trained folks on how to adjust your behavior to match that of the person that you're either working with or trying to collaborate with. Works great in sales engagements and things like that. Just great for team building. So I appreciate you calling out the disc, and the SSI is the sales skills index that you mentioned is like what are the 7 steps of the sales process and how well are we aligned with it, and where do we need to polish up a few of those areas to make us a little bit more successful at helping our clients, through that sales process or that journey together. But yeah, Rex, I mean, we continue to collaborate, and appreciate again having me on the show to talk about the things that help MSPs, improve their businesses. It's funny. I never thought, 20 years later, however long it's been, we'd still be talking about some of these basic blocking and tackling 101 things. But as we are human beings, we kind of, forget things or take shortcuts. And sometimes getting that reminder and grounding ourselves is
And there's
very, very prescriptive, right?
new generations, is evolved, some changes, some of it's still the blocking and tackling. There's new people entering, there's people exiting, the M&A we talked about. Now, real quick, I want to get to, well, I wanted to ask you if Rex brought up 3 pins and talking about sales, but we're not going to go to that yet. But let's talk about MSP chat. But before we do, I want to show a sizzle reel that you brought. Willis, can we play that?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the MSP Chat Podcast, your weekly visit with two talking heads talking with you about the services, strategies, and success tips you need to make it big in managed services. My name is Rich Freeman. I'm one of your co-hosts on this program. I am joined, as I am every week, by our Chief Strategist and Channel Master, Erick Simpson. Once again, we thank you for joining us. We'll see you in a week. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, please remember, you can't spell channel without MSP.
Yeah, so that's the MSP Chat podcast, and unfortunately, my co-host, my partner in crime and business at Channel Master, Rich Freeman, could not be here with us today. So we'll have to get him back on the show at some point for his perspective. He's just an amazing person, a leader in the channel. He's been covering the managed services space since before I was an MSP, I think, or right around the same time. So I look forward to having Rich come on and provide his perspective on managed services, the
Uh, he and
industry, the
he and both
channel, etc.
he and I are both Seattle based, so we find ourselves on the same plane going to the events often.
Are
Is
you a
there
Seahawks fan too? Do you guys go to games together? Because he loves the Seahawks.
Uh, I root for the underdog in the playoffs, whoever that is.
I just like the
let's
party. So yeah.
let,
Yeah.
let's move into talking a little bit about helping MSPs run profitable businesses. Let's talk first thing a little bit about, standardization. I think that's kind of such an important piece. But do you mind maybe just kind of talking a little bit about how you kind of, your evolution of understanding standardization, what the benefits were, and how you kind of really help and start the conversations about standardization in an MSP business?
Yeah, you bet, Chris. I think that everybody starts off where they start in any business endeavor. So we learn along the way, and I think for MSPs, back when me and Rex started out, right, it was very, very different. In terms of what solutions were available, what clients thought they needed and wanted, and how difficult it was to get them to convince them to sign up for a subscription service paid in advance, right? Um, so the more that we can increase the efficiency of our service delivery, the more profitable we can become, the more easily we can scale without having to hire more costly labor. And as we know today, it's the costliest it's ever been to bring on folks to deliver that service. So it's really important for an MSP business owner to understand their true cost of service delivery, everything, nuts and bolts included with their labor, the cost of their third party services or subscriptions that they're adding in there, and then to identify a target margin that you want to attain. And it's tough to maintain that ideal target margin once you figure out what your true costs are. If you're having to support, for example, every firewall known to man, right? Or every phone system, or every antivirus solution. So the idea of standardization is to identify what you feel you want to support for your target audience. And my extra bonus tip is to create bundles of services. I'm a big proponent of good, better, best, right? One size doesn't always fit all. So when you typically have one solution stack that you're presenting, that once you've arrived at that, your standardized solution stack, to get more revenue and deliver more value to the clients you serve with that one stack typically means that you're selling more point products or other solutions or upgrading, you know, a version of something in your stack rather than having a good, better, best kind of bundle of services, which with each successively higher priced bundle of services, adding more uh, complementary value. So everything in my good, better, best, everything. If I go to better, I'm delivering everything in my good bundle plus these additional value drivers or solutions or services that you can only get in the better, and so on and so forth. So it's qualitatively better, not quantitatively better. So what I mean by that is not 10 more licenses of Microsoft 365 in the better bundle. No, qualitatively better means I'm adding more onto that bundle. Kind of like when we buy streaming subscriptions, right? When you buy your channel packages, you can only get HBO with this package or that. So that way, when a client needs to grow, you just move all of them to that next tier of service up, and you're massively increasing your profit because you're standardized on that as well. Or if they come into a scenario like during COVID where people had to downsize, rather than canceling your agreement, you can maybe shift them down into that lower tier of service. And the last thing I'll add on the standardization piece and bundling is your minimum, your good bundle should be the minimum that you require every single one of your clients to subscribe to in order to be a client and maintain that relationship with you.
Yeah, as MSPs, they'll kind of sell whatever they think the client. And then I remember getting hired in a company that's kind of where they were in their managed services practice. Find good, better, best, and I'm going to slot each of my existing contracts into one of those three. And basically, if I had to round up to deliver it, even if I over delivered a little bit according to what they are paying me for, with their contract, it's easier and better for me to manage three standards than the wild west of standards that we had at the time. Have you had to lead companies through that?
Yeah, I think you're right, Rex. And the other thing that helps when you're thinking about standardization is you're basically cookie cuttering everything. I mean, how many of us have gone through the pain of ripping and replacing stuff and changing our standards? So it's important to make the right decisions with the right solution stack, the right vendor relationships that you have that add additional value beyond margin, right? So, what are those smart relationships that you can build with your strategic vendors and marketplaces and distributors that go beyond just providing you something that you can resell, right? So that's something I know that you guys are really all about at Paxate is helping MSPs really grow their businesses with you know, this series and Academy Live and other training opportunities. How do we get these MSPs to understand their business operations from core functions, from an operational perspective, an HR perspective, marketing, sales, and service delivery? I think a lot of us that start an IT practice or an MSP are really, really strong on the technology side of the house, but sometimes we need a little bit of help on the operations and the marketing and sales and things like that, right?
Yeah, I had one partner name their standard by the year, and they just set the expectation with their client base that every year they would be upgrading to a new standard, whatever that was. So this,
Mm.
we're migrating everybody into the 2025 MSP Co tech standard, and I kind of like the way that they did that. Um,
That's
I
interesting.
think that's really, really savvy. I think it's really, really savvy.
Mm.
And I'm a fan of doing price increases first and then asking forgiveness later, like truing up legacy clients. It's like on this date you will see this adjustment on your invoice, and you'll deal with a very small single digit percentage of people that complain, and you'll just take those on one by one. And that doesn't mean that you're going to let them slide. You may just negotiate the price a little bit, but everyone needs to be on that new standard. I love that strategy, Rex, where you're saying this is the 2025, just like any software that we use, right? It's the
right.
2025 version of this
Yeah.
software. So everybody expects that. And let's be honest, everybody, as consumers, business owners or consumers, they're used to having the prices raised on them for everything that they subscribe to. Look at streaming, look at any other service, look at your electric bill, look at your gas bill, look at everything that you are paying for as a consumer. We are conditioned now to do that. No longer are we buying boxed software where we can just run it until it doesn't run anymore, right? It's everything is moving into that model. And for us to stay ahead of the game and to deliver the service that our clients need, we have to be judicious about what's in our stack, how we standardize. And then, the other tip that I like to always share is, you know, you got to fire some customers, right? If you're going to make the playoffs every year, you're going to have to make some player trades to get there, right? So just like a sports franchise owner, the team that didn't get you to the playoffs last year are certainly not going to do any better this year. So you've got to make some player trades. In this scenario, I'm talking about swapping out some of those C, D, and F customers so you can have capacity to serve more A and B clients.
Yeah, one of the most profitable MSPs I ever worked with, they had a standing policy that they had a nice sales department, but every year they fired the bottom of their clients, and they kept their company size about the same, but they just drove more and more and more net profit or EBITDA. Um, uh, to move on a little bit, let's talk about specialization and how important it is. As you're doing that, calling out the bottom clients that you have, what kind of specializations are you seeing out there that help drive better profitability?
Yeah, boy, that's a huge conversation. I will say everything that isn't commoditized that MSPs deliver today, right? So everybody delivers remote support. We do service desk. We do infrastructure upgrades, right? We do vendor management. I mean, things that I wrote about in my first book back in 2006, we're still doing today. So the specializations really have to adjust with the changing needs of our target customer base. And we as MSP business owners should be evaluating that target audience regularly. Just like yearly, we look at getting rid of our lowest performing customers so that we can bring on more profitable and more strategic clients. We should also be looking at what these new clients are looking for. Are we expanding into different verticals? Man, cybersecurity is just blue ocean. There's so much opportunity. AI is up and coming. I think we're still trying to figure out exactly how to monetize that. Rich and I on the MSP
That,
Chat podcast, we talk about it almost every show. It's like some component of AI. Like it's still early days there, but cybersecurity is winner, winner, chicken dinner. I was talking with a client of mine, an MSP client of mine, earlier today, and he was leaving his existing organization and thinking about, well, should I start another MSP with a buddy of mine can do it all over again? I said, look, compliance is where it's at. That is where the opportunity is. You're delivering compliance and cybersecurity and mapping to some of these regulatory standards. I think there's no end in sight for business there. So that's a specialization. And then if you niche down into that, are you now working with government? So there's CMMC. Are you working with financial verticals or retail or manufacturing? There's lots of opportunity there. But I think just diversifying from the standard that everybody delivers, I think those are just table stakes now. Like you can't brag anymore about we have the best, customer service. We have the smartest tech. It's like everybody says the same thing. So how do you
Yeah, we have the
differentiate
best
and
people, the
distinguish
best
yourself?
tech, and the best
Right.
processes, right? It's like,
Right? Yeah.
no.
So you've got to be different.
And
Well, you mentioned, CMMC. I think of the numbers are staggering on the projected, gaps in skilled workers to fill the demand, and you look at just the research and the numbers and the projection, just I'm repeating myself, but it's just staggering. There are so many opportunities around CMMC, around the certifications, C3 APO, and you notice I'm buzzword compatible. I can say those things off the top of my head. But talk a little bit about you know how do you read into that? How do you become a futurist, and how do you kind of stop right now and kind of take a look, and where do you really focus your energy and time to kind of predict? What are some trends and things that you see that's the horse you'd bet on for the next 1, 2, and 5 years for this space?
Wow.
That's
All
a
right.
that,
So
yeah, here's a heavy one.
Chris, you're giving me way too much credit. Okay, I'm just a humble recovering MSP here, but I'll do my best. I'll do my
You-
best. So,
hey, we're in this together. I asked it. We're in this together. But I think you have some great insight. But I'd love to kind of know some of your thought processes around what are you seeing now? What are MSPs doing, and where do you see the success and the trends kind of working towards?
I think one of the areas that can really distinguish MSPs and create a huge opportunity for growth and create more of that distinction is being more strategically valuable to a business's growth, like a client's growth. Like, what are they doing to what is the vision for growth? What is the path? What is the 5-year plan for that business? What is the 10-year plan? I learned this, along with doing the ABC, the pyramid of customers, right? So if you have a pyramid and you slice it into 3 segments, you have a tiny little pyramid on top, you have a little bit fatter section in the middle, and then you have the largest section at the bottom. So think of those as your customers. A, your top clients, the very small percentage. The B's, you have a lot more opportunity to get those into the A category. They're more strategic. They may have a little budget. You can move them up. And then the bottom are those C customers. So when we're looking at what we're delivering to these more strategic clients now, and this pathway for growth, and kind of what I see in my crystal ball of how MSPs can continue to deliver more valuable services at a higher margin. It's all about understanding and mapping your technology solutions and your guidance and your cybersecurity compliance, everything around the business's growth targets. So how do we delivering go from delivering technology services and solutions to delivering business outcomes, right? So,
Mhm.
Jay McBain talks a lot about the 7 strategic partners that every business owner needs to have. And one of them is their technology advisor. The more strategically that advisor can have conversations that don't talk about the technology or the speeds and feeds and talk more about what is your vision for growth? Where do you see yourself in a couple of years? Do you see yourself growing more staff, expanding into different areas, truly embodying that FTE kind of role for a VTO or a CIO and a CTO is where the opportunity lies. And this is where you can add so much more value with so many fewer clients that you'll have less churn, you'll be more valuable, and then you'll be able to pick and choose the clients that you want to work with, right? So that is something that every MSP at some point values and cherishes. Like when I get to say no, somebody once told me, There's one word that'll change your life when you get to tell a prospect no, because now you're picking and choosing who you work with. But I think that's it's a broad answer, but I think just being more valuable from a business strategic perspective for clients, whatever their business model is, I think will pay dividends for MSPs.
So, Eric, we're dancing around a little bit. Tell me a little bit about like what MSPs need to understand from a finance perspective in their businesses. Are there any key things that you think they should be watching?
Boy, yeah, this is another great topic, right? That we could go on for a long time around. But identifying and understanding how to normalize your P&L so that you know your profitability from every revenue generating service line that you sell is key, right? You may have like some MSPs kind of group their P&L together, and everything is revenue and then everything is cost, and it's hard to identify underperforming services, to identify what you should stop doing or what needs shoring up. So the first thing I would do is I would normalize your P&L so you know what your cost of goods sold is for like 5 or 6 key things that you're selling, and then look at improving the underperforming ones, or let something go that you've been hanging on to because it was a labor of love. I had a client one time that had built, this was before like automated website design platforms and stuff like that. They had spent, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of hours building this platform for their customers that they were charging them $9 a month for, and it was costing them like $150 every ticket to solve. And until we identified that underperforming product, they were never going to let it go. But then finally, the reality check hit them, and they said, "Okay, you're right. We got to stop doing that." And immediately, their profit margin increased because that was dragging them down.
It's amazing the actual numbers. We so much I think kind of goes by kind of the gut, but when you kind of look at it from more of an analytical mind, it's amazing what that does to some of our decisions. I love the analogy of we're only losing $1 a unit on this, but we'll make it up in volume. It's kind of one of my favorite jokes, but I swear I've seen that the mentality of a lot of MSPs where okay, we're not profit, we're struggling now, but you know what, we're going to go add a bunch of clients. And we kind of always have those conversations about, well, wait, what's making this not profitable here? Let's not add 10 more not profitable clients to your load right now. What is the real issue? And just it's amazing the power of that data. But uh, there's some of these topics are really big and they're huge, but I want to kind of give an opportunity to say, what's on your mind? Is there anything you'd like to say or add or to kind of have our audience here?
Yeah, I think if just continue to embody what I love best about our community. The MSP community is different than any other community or vertical I've ever been a part of. Rex, you mentioned kind of this kind of go-giver mentality. Like we are in it to help each other, and the rising tide lifts all boats. So feed yourself, participate, help others. Um, you know, attend attend as many events as you possibly can to help you get better at what you do, and then pay it forward. That's what I love doing best. I know you guys love doing it best here on this show. And, we do the same thing on the MSP Chat podcast. We like to deliver actionable strategies for MSPs to improve their businesses. And, we have a little fun, we have a little humor segment, we do an interview, and then we do a news topic. And I always do a business tip of the week. So that's just our way of giving back.
Very good. Well, Eric, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you and your time. Really, thanks for gracing us with your presence. But I mean that very sincerely. So thank you for being here.
Thanks
Appreciate
for
the
being a go-giver,
opportunity.
Eric.
Rex,
Yeah,
appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
appreciate you, Eric. Take care. And now let's move into sales pitch.
If you're not practicing, somebody else is somewhere, and he'll be ready to take your job. That's a really powerful quote. This is so true when it comes to running your business or if you're a salesperson trying to be successful. I also like this quote from dual athlete Bo Jackson. Set your goals high and don't stop until you get there. Setting sales goals is a critical aspect of any successful sales strategy. It provides direction and focus. It enables measurement and accountability, and it drives improvement. It can transform a good sales team into a great one by providing structure and motivation needed to achieve outstanding results. So let's touch all the bases on some relevant sales goals to consider. 1. Implement targeted marketing campaigns. Participate in your ideal clients' industry events and leverage referrals while doing so. Sure, you may catch a fish by throwing a net over the side of the boat and hoping some fish just jump in, but wouldn't you rather have the equipment and the bait to be more effective? 2. Optimize your sales process. Improve lead qualification methods and refine sales pitches. Don't just wing it. Results Selling Framework can help you with this. 3. Provide access to relevant training programs. Do some role play, workshops, industry certifications. You always have to be practicing. 4. Streamline your sales process. Eliminate bottlenecks and leverage sales automation tools. What's working? Do more of that. What's not working, either change or eliminate it. By setting clear and actionable sales goals, you can focus your efforts and resources on meaningful activities and results. I will leave you with one more baseball quote around goal setting. It's from Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. To succeed in baseball, as in life, you must make adjustments. I want you to have a successful year fueled with growth. Set your goals for the year, make adjustments along the way, and don't stop until you reach them.
Great sales pitch, Keith. Always love those. And thank you to our guest, Erick Simpson. Be sure to check us out on March 11th. Our guest will be PAX 8's Robert Page, and we'll be discussing Dynamics 365 Business Central Launchpad. Tune in. And don't forget to subscribe and like us on your YouTube channel. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us. Bye.